decided to do it today is just to designate a certain amount of time to the topics. If I will do a hard cutoff to make sure that we discuss all the topics on the agenda. If there's anything that we feel we want to discuss more than time allows for, I recommend we put it on the agenda for next week and continue the conversation. Again, happy for any feedback or if anyone has a different or better approach. Yeah, just let me know. All right, the first bit that we'll be talking about, which I think will take the most time, is probably more of a continuation of where we finished up last week. So it's about RChain organization. Bit of a debrief of what we just discussed in the debrief. I think there was a good conversation at the end as well about the logo. So thanks, HJ, for bringing that up. And let's just continue on from there. So the next agenda point would then be, what is the goal of our group, our RChain active members team? And a couple of things that we've been thinking about is, well, what do we want to do? And one very ambitious goal is reset of the internet. So giving people back their privacy. And as I discussed in the debrief, what we want to do is to try to grow our team to at least, well, ideally 10,000 active members by the end of this year, which is very ambitious. And we've got to grow a lot. We're currently thinking about how we can do that, but we think the more active members we have, the more it will help us achieve this goal. So I think one thing that would be interesting to discuss is, how do we define an active member? Is it someone obviously who contributes with work, but on what frequency? Of course, we would want quality over quantity, but some people are more active on the channels than others, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they have the most quality. So I'd be keen to hear if anyone has an opinion about that or any thoughts.
Yeah, this is the onboarding is the greatest challenge, according to Doug Rushkoff, when he addressed that. We had a fireside chat with him in scenario. To grow this to 10,000, we got to scale, and communities like this don't tend to scale well. Okay, they hit the Dunbar number and they die most often. But what we're leaning towards in Dig Life is sort of the bring one, teach one. Okay, that scales onboarding new people into a new paradigm where everything changes, and they have to learn to use crypto and maybe GitHub and Google Docs, whatever. Bringing the people into our space. And I think the social ledger can also help us organize better. And maybe we should move most of our activities onto Mattermost and take advantage of the social ledger, which can support self-organization of the community.
So you say these kind of communities are going to die, but well, I think this one is going to stay. And the goal of 10,000 active members is very well possible. And in my view, we can reach that number before the summer. And as you say, one comes and one teaches. That's a very good one for onboarding.
Yeah, we should have rewards in place for welcoming, a welcomer role. Who welcomes new members on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? We got 5 of 7 days covered in Dig Life, and I take 2 days to welcome new members. They come into the space, and that's the beginning of the adventure, so to speak. And I can share my screen. But I'll try to be quick here and just show my current thinking, which was really from the S7 group, in terms of how they define synergetic creation and, the user experience. And, it's like they come in and and they start saying, you and me, rather than us, and then after they come into the process, then they become part of it and are no longer separate. But they come into the lounge and settle in and share. It's like facilitating the onboarding process proactively and inquiring, what brought you here? What would you like to share? Okay. And then finding a space for them. Self-locator, the person locates themselves, but we facilitate. Finding your tribe is what they called it in Dig Life. And then, we have the atmosphere that we're creating here, which is working, is playing, is learning, where we try for the inner triangle here of, the 3 questions. What can you do? What do you like to do? And what do you want to do? But,
sorry, go ahead, Jim.
No, I've been working on collaborative systems for 50 years, whatever. And, I'm rather pessimistic that communities really can cooperate. But I think, we have an opportunity here, to actually make cooperation among communities work, since everybody really wants the same thing. Dig Life wants Tech You Trust. We're in essence fighting one game, and if cooperation at scale can happen, there's no limit to what we can do. And I think that if we capitalize on the social ledger that's already out there, okay, and create the holonic structure that structures that our engagement in activities, in teams, in domains, in organizations, and between organizations.
Hey, Jim.
Creating the network. Okay, I'm done.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
What to your mind are the most successful distributed autonomous organizations, and what can we learn from them?
Well, I think there's two extremes here. One would be the self-management, where there's only peer-to-peer contracts. There's no organization really. Okay, it's all peer-to-peer contracts, and everybody manages themselves. What is Monsanto or something? A tomato company is a big example of that. And then there's Visa. The collection of credit card companies, all competing against one another, but at the same time, if they don't cooperate on standards or whatever, they don't have a business. It's only the people that interoperate that have a business in the credit card industry. And so they've been successful in that they all are fighting each other, but they realize they have to do something, so they come up with what they need by essentially consent. I mean, it's
So let's make a video about the social ledger to attract people and how to cooperate.
Yes, how to self-organize and gamify it. I mean, it should be gamified because that's really what it is. And in the social ledger 2 interface that they're coming up with, there are cards, and you play the cards. But that's one interface.
With respect to a social ledger video, I was very impressed by Joaquin. Was it Joaquin, is the developer?
Yes.
I was very impressed by the short overview he gave in a video that you posted to YouTube. Could we possibly get him to do a real thorough, methodical 1-hour walkthrough? The current interface is a bit challenging, but I think has tremendous promise. And also, I'm also concerned about, before deploying it, I'm concerned about the security of the platform.
Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of issues, not just in terms of the interface, but first, I think we need to, as a group, decide what are the most useful things we could do with it. I mean, to a degree, it was developed, but the requirements came from DigLife or whatever. But I think we as an RChain group need to see what we need to or want to accomplish in the initial go round, to be so that we can then tune the interface, the architecture, the technology, whatever, relative to those requirements. That's the activity 217 on GitHub is really an attempt to begin to get that going, get that conversation going, to be able to say, what is it that we're trying to do here with the social ledger, and what are the relative priorities, what should be done now, what can be done later, that sort of an activity. So I think that's one part. The other issue I think that the co-op needs to come up with is how many channels will we have for communication, and how do we contain them so that we don't have a chaos of communication? Because right now, there's obviously a whole bunch of Google Docs and all that, and there should be links to it either in GitHub or Discord or wherever we're having conversations. But then there's Discord, there's Mattermost, there's Telegram. I think we need to say, okay, which are the ones we are doing for outreach so we can attract people from other groups, versus which are the ones where we will have the substantive discussions. And I think somebody was suggesting in the previous meeting that it be the members channel or members co-op, members channel should be where most of the discussion should be happening. So then there is the question of, okay, if you have a lot of discussion going on a textual, a chat platform, how do you then summarize that into something that's meaningful and will stick, where people remember that, okay, these discussions were had and these decisions were made, so that we're not revisiting the same thing or whatever. So I think that whole, how do we work, where do we work, part still needs to be, and maybe we can do that in these meetings by breaking it down. But we need the outreach in Telegram and Discord and elsewhere to bring people into the 10,000 goal that HJ and Chantel are talking about.
Yeah.
But I think right now, at least for me, there's too many channels and too much going on.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's one of the things that we've been discussing as well. And I think that was one of the things we spoke about last week. And I think that's definitely a valid point and something that we should look into. Is that something that is our responsibility or the co-op's responsibility?
I think that we really should get an expert UX person involved in guiding this process.
Huh. You won't find such experts. We have to find it out. So,
yeah, Joachim is an expert. Of course, there's other experts in Dig Life. I think the important thing is that we have easy navigation between our channels. Unfortunately, we're going to have many channels. And, it's these channels that eventually will be on RChain with different tools connected to them. But, I can come back to, Lumio as a tool that we can connect to. And we can simply put a link to it in the social ledger. So you go into any channel, you type /dig-a, you say, okay, here's the Lumio, and you click on it.
But we don't have to discuss about the solution here, but it's enough to say that it needs a lot of attention.
Right.
So
using the social ledger to self-organize in Mattermost is what we can do today. Lumio is what we can do today. I think what we do tomorrow, is going to be different, but we should do what we can do today. And, bring, whatever tools we use, we can integrate the social ledger. The social ledger is just the skeleton of our channels and documents and links and norms and goals. Okay, it creates a skeleton. It creates transparency among our teams, without
I agree with you, Jim. I think social ledger is a wonderful tool to use to integrate everything.
Right, and like I said, it's just a skeleton. The social ledger is already out there. All we have to do is reify that structure with our data. The data is the only thing that matters.
And the thing that matters is that people are going to use it. So how we are going to do that? That's we won't find the answer today, but
step one is to use Mattermost. If we use Mattermost, we'll be in the space of the social ledger, and we can start using it, and we can have norms of how we use it. It's like a blank slate, really, until we decide what our goals are, what our norms are. Now, in the meantime, we can indicate our engagement in activities that define our role in a team. Okay, each channel has activities, and by saying who's engaged in those activities, that lets somebody determine their role in that channel by those activities. And if necessary, we can, type the /dig command for someone else who's engaged in an activity but hasn't claimed that they are engaged in it. Okay, everybody's king in the social ledger. They can do anything. There is no security. There's trust at this point. That's it. And we're in the process of adding identity so that it will become safe, whereas right now somebody could mess it up if they wanted to.
All right. Well, I think that's something, like AJ said, we probably won't find it as a solution today, but definitely worth having a look into. Jim, I've got a couple of minutes later on today for you to talk a bit more about the social ledger and the Digital Life Collective. So maybe you can give a quick intro then about what it is and perhaps touch on this a bit more. But I think one thing that's what we should think about as well is that we're now talking about people who are onboarding, but I think there's a step before that as well. How do we get people to want to onboard? How do we get people to become aware of the active members group and want to participate? So I think one thing that we should start thinking about as well is that how are we going to find those people? Because there's a step before getting them into the actual onboarding process, like I said. So the fact that we have a lot of different channels is a challenge, but at the same time also an opportunity to reach more people. So I think let's think about how we can use them. And Jim, I totally agree with you. And with some of the other comments made earlier, that we need to find one place where we can streamline everyone once they onboard. But maybe the amount of channels that we currently have can help us find new people more easily. Let's just move on for the sake of time. So I'll skip the rest of this section and go to the Blockchain Africa conference. So I only had a quick update about what this is. And I know that someone threw it out on GitHub, if I'm correct, to sponsor, for RChain to sponsor this conference. And that the co-op decided that this sponsorship is probably not going to happen. I don't have a whole lot more information on it than that. I don't know if it's something that we want to discuss here or if it's important to people, but I'm happy to open the floor. I guess that's a no. Okay, let's move on. This is great. Quickly. Point number 3 is the governance forum. So in the previous meeting, Meta said that she's working with Pyrofax on the lineup and the agenda. I don't want to make this into a very long conversation that we've had in the past about governance itself, but more about the forum. I don't know if anyone has any updates or questions that they want to share.
I had a question about the shirts. I just want to know if the co-op, HJ, I guess, if the co-op will pay for the shirts.
Yeah, they can pay in rocks.
Sounds good. I'll get the shirts made once we decide on the logo.
Yeah, it's a pity that it landed there. I mean, I thought it would.
The logo you had, the one everyone voted on. So I assume that's it.
Yeah, but I'm more or less against this kind of voting stuff. I mean, people could have participated into the logo design when it was going on. When they don't pay attention, yeah, okay, there's a missed chance for them.
There was participation. There was like 50 people who voted. That's
yes.
Like the whole community that participates.
So then it should go on, I think.
Sounds like I'll put it on there then. Excellent.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's still a bunch of cowboys, you know, so.
Yeah, actually, Greg. So what's the objection to doing RChain Africa?
Well, Greg was pretty clear that he didn't like it at all.
You could have contributed
in a society, you can't just say I object. You have to show either that it's not safe enough to try, or it's in conflict with our driver, our goals and objectives.
No, on the logo, what Greg was saying is that he and I guess a couple of other people thought that there was not sufficient.
Yeah, right. I know about the logo. I was asking about the RChain Africa conference.
Oh, I see.
But Brandon asked a question: can I print the T-shirts?
Yeah, well, as far as the T-shirts,
I think we agree. You should print them. Go for it.
All right.
Okay.
I think speaking about the African conference, James has a point. That's because when we talk about onboarding new members, I think Africa is a place where we can also give an opportunity, in the sense that when this conference is held, and being that a lot of Africans don't have experience about this RChain, it's going to be a means of like educating them and making them want to pick interest or be involved in what RChain is all about.
I think we should fund the Africa conference. Sounds great. We have all kinds of skills.
It's a good idea for us to at least give it a try. It's not like we are going to, let's just give it a try and see what comes out of it. Not to just put it off completely, because we don't know, like James said, it's something that has to do with society at large.
I think it's a wonderful opportunity, that we can get in there at all. I think it's worth risking some rock. Well worth it. If we want dollars, though, then we have to probably get them from the co-op. And maybe we can shame them into giving us some dollars.
In reality, America will be the last to adopt cryptocurrencies. It's going to be all the outlying countries. It's going to be the countries in Africa. It's going to be the South American countries who are the first to accept crypto as their main source of funds when they say we're sick of our government. So I think getting into the places that will actually use it first will be a valiant effort.
So how would it's on the map then?
Well, I mean, the OG model put a thing there saying that Kenny Rowe was saying that it is not feasible. But in any case, I guess it could be reopened, and as long as there is a sufficient enough group that can pull it off, I mean, I don't see why one or two or whatever number of people should be objecting.
Yeah. And I was going to ask if anybody here had a concern. If Kenny had a concern about its feasibility, we have a responsibility to answer that if we're going to do it.
So, Ojimadu, I think you seem to have had that conversation with Kenny. Could you elaborate on what his concerns were?
Sorry, was it a question to me?
Hello.
Hi.
He posted it on GitHub that the co-op will not be sponsoring it, and I think that's all. I'm actually trying to get back to the issue on GitHub. I can't remember the actual reply, but I think that was it.
Yes, well, he replied on GitHub, but it wasn't what I would call a definitive no. So maybe we could, if other people gently nudge him, we can get him to take another look at it.
He's not the deciding factor. It's not
right,
on Kenny.
Basically, the first action we could take is to say, okay, here are all the things that need to be done and or arranged for to pull off that conference. Kind of put a plan of action for how the conference can be a success. And then that will give us a way to evaluate, well, do we have the people to do all of that? And or can we engage people to do all of that would accept the rocks? I think if we do that, that will give it a concreteness that at least then they can relook at it. otherwise it'll just be a back and forth without any detail. So if we just put a action plan that says, okay, here are all the resources that need to be engaged, here are the benefits, here is the, sort of like a business plan, but more of a, what all needs to be done, what will we gain from it, why does it make sense, what parties need to be engaged. If we put all of that on GitHub as a document and let people comment on it, and including Kenny, and see how that goes from there. Does it make sense?
Yeah,
I think Chiamaka is right. That means that she says, let's give it a try and see what comes out of it, you know. So let's put this business plan up and fund it.
Well, there should be a Google.
What is the issue number for that? I guess I could search on GitHub. Sorry.
There should be a, either a document on GitHub or a Google Doc. A Google Doc is a good collaboration environment. I guess GitHub works too. Yeah, and I think the lesson we learned with the logo is that we have to get a buy-in, and it's not up to Kenny whether we do this or not. But his concerns need to be addressed, and he needs to be included, and we should feel that his opinion is important, and we should try to get everyone's consent if we can. We don't want any victims. We want to come up. We want to come up with something that we can that we can consent to. That's reasonable and good.
Yeah, but exactly right. I mean, and putting a plan together might make ourselves realize where the unfeasible or infeasibility points are. But that is certainly a way to start, is to put a plan and let's see where we think or what scares us when we put the plan down.
Are there any volunteers who want to put the plan together at this moment?
Yeah.
I can help if somebody is leading it, like Chiamaka or Osimadu or somebody that knows the environment there.
Yes, I would have loved to be of a very useful help, because I think that Africa is going to be a welcome idea if we have something down on ground. I will not want to be on it alone, because I really want some backup, being that I am so much, but I enjoy what is going on there. And I really want it to come out for Africa. You understand? And I really want us, let's work on it as a team. If there is something I feel is going to work out with Africa, I'll bring it to the board and let's see how it goes about it.
It's only 5,000 rocks. That's nothing. We got tons of rocks.
Yeah. My suggestion is we create an Africa channel on Mattermost, and I'll be part of the team there. And
yes,
we can make
that's a welcome idea.
We can make
Africa channel. Yes,
Chiamaka the guide role in the social ledger, and we'll make Rao the scribe role. And then we have an official circle that's part of the sociocratic process, because it has, and it needs a link. I'll be a link role.
Okay, Jim, don't go too much in detail. Write it out in the issues of this governance issue in 241, and then go ahead with it.
So in 241, it says it's closed now. Do we, HJ, do we reopen it, or do we create a new item that says this links to 241, or is reopened?
No, reopen it. Reopen it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Let's move on. So, Jim, if you are happy to do so, I'd love to open up the floor to you to speak a little bit about BYOID and the social ledger. And I don't know if P. Mormon is online. I don't think he is, because I was going to ask him to give a bit of a marketing review, which he posted on GitHub. Given that he's not there, Jim, would you be happy to discuss your two projects with us and maybe give a bit of a summary and yeah, anything else that you think is valuable?
All right. Essentially, what we're working on is identity, because identity is the foundation of any application that we're going to do that's going to be interoperable among our communities and within our communities. And the single sign-on is, I guess, sort of a first step. And this is getting the OAuth to work among all our tools. And BYOID is an umbrella for all the organizations that I'm involved in who are trying to get identity working in their communities. Right now, we have very few people involved with the technical side. We need developers and system admin skills, and we're willing to train people. We have some mentoring available, but and the first application that we're really enabling with the unified identity, which bring your own identity, is okay. You bring one from GitHub, you bring one from the RChain Mattermost, you bring one from the HoloChain Mattermost, you bring one from your Facebook account, whatever. But so we're looking to give you, to collect your identities, and so that your bots can act with your permissions on those systems, and that we can link it with the social ledger, so that you can automate your processes ultimately and control them with Rolang. So the social ledger prototype and trial. Any questions on BYOID? It's a universal identity that is just a collection of all the identities you already have. It doesn't have any, we have self-sovereign identity components that we want you to be able to use with it. But you have a different persona in every context you're in the social ledger. So you have one identity in RChain and one on Facebook, and you manage these identities. It's a big solution. Go ahead.
So are you talking about online identities only, or also maybe people have an identity in the shape of a loyalty card with a different store, for example? Does that tie into that as well, or is it only online?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. First of all, the social ledger is an abstract thing. It's everything you'd say and do and interact with. It's your Bitcoin transactions. It's your the change going from your purse to your a jar on the wall, whatever. But the there's certain things that we're focusing on because they're important. Verifiable claims. Certainly, you could put the card on the ledger. You could manage it through the ledger, and if they had an API, you could interact with that API to control that card, whatever was available. Does that answer?
I'm not sure.
I think I
can. But so then, when you say you've got all your personas in one, can you then also decide who you share what with?
Yeah, that's part of the user managed authorizations protocols that is a standard for putting you in control of your identity. And so there's a standard for that, which we're implementing in the /DigID functionality. And also your exposure. Right now in the social ledger, it's all pretty visible if you're not in a private channel. Why don't I share my screen? I think it's better to talk about this with it in front of me. Share screen. Just one. Okay, I go to the RChain co-op. Looks like I'm missing. But so it looks like my Twitter account, my Twitter integration is going overboard here, doing retweets. It's not supposed to send retweets. It makes it hard to find the budget. What we have is we have channels, and each channel is either public or private. If it's private, it's private. But if it's public, there's the context that it defines, which in the social ledger, you'll be able to say what's exposed outside of that activity within a channel, within the RChain domain here, and across to other organizations. And then what I'm trying to show here is what that looks like, and it's not responding. I don't know what's wrong with my machine. That's a real shame that my machine is not responding. But basically, it brings you, by keeping information within the context of the channels or the teams that you're in, and it doesn't have to be Mattermost. Right now, it just supports Mattermost, but we're adding, it can be any channel you want. We're looking to add Discord, Telegram, and Matrix. Finally, it responded. My goodness. But it's not typing.
I think Barakia's Victor is not on mute. Could you please mute?
I'm not getting any response here. I'm sorry. Let's just talk.
All right. And then did you want to share a bit more about the Digital Life Collective as well?
Yeah, I think it's good to get more RChain people involved in the Digital Life Collective. I'm not sure. The new recommended donation is $20 to join. Anybody who joins, I'll be happy to send them some rocks if they want me to cover their membership. I have sponsored funds to work with, some sponsored funds to work with. But you know, they're a very good group of luminaries, and I can't, you know, I can't say there's they all agree, but they manage to cooperate well. And Philip Sheldrick is sort of a thought leader of the group, who's pretty well known, and it's really a great group of people to get involved with, and you know, to bring our activities into, in my view, and you know, try to get this collaboration going. Since we're all working for Tech We Trust for the World We Want, their view is that nobody else is going to do it unless we do it ourselves. We have to cooperate, and that's why they both made a co-op. And so, you know, it's dealing with the world way beyond RChain, and it's going to be a homogeneous world. We're going to have to interoperate with anything. It's not everybody's going to go on RChain overnight. It's it pays for us to cooperate and in being onboarded into using, you know, Tech We Trust for the World We Want.
Jim, do you have any links that you can share that so people can have a look into both the BYOIG and, sorry?
I'm sorry, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, go finish.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, if you have any links to share so people can have a look, a bit of a closer look into both projects, we can paste them into the agenda.
Okay, I would rather people go into general and type /dig, enter. Okay, that will give them links to everything.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
If I can get a response here, I'll share the invite link to the RChain Mattermost. If you just type /dig, /dig, enter, okay, you'll get the links you need. And there's instructions on the bottom. They tell me I got to move the instructions to the top. I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah, that's okay. We will put it in the minutes of this meeting.
Yeah, my machine's not responding at all, so I'm not going to bother to share. I guess I should reboot before this meeting or something. It's Windows 10.
Jim, see if you can post that link.
We can put it in the minutes.
Yeah, if anybody who's in RChain, if they click on bars here, they say get team invite link, and they click on get team invite link and share it. If somebody could do that, whose machine is working.
Okay. That's left. So we get to the top.
Actually, Brandon, was it you who were going to be working on the t-shirts?
Yes, it is I.
Okay. Is that clear for you?
So I'm going to put the logo that was voted on. And do we want just the logo, or do you want to say RChain below it?
The RChain below it.
All right. Yeah, I'll do 200 shirts. Do we want white? Do we want gray? Do we have any specific colors we'd like?
White.
All right. I'll get some white, and I'll try to do mostly large, a couple extra large, some extra large, with some mediums and smalls.
Great.
I just want I just want to point out Greg's suggestion was that we do both the old logo and the new logo and put a checkbox next to it. I don't know if he was serious about it or not,
but Greg can print the older logo.
Well, I was wondering if we should make a few shirts with the old logo and give one of them to Greg.
I'll print one.
Only one then.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely think it would be gracious of us to make some with the old logo if we can.
I can do it.
Yeah, no, let's do that. I think that would be fun.
And I'm not opposed to having two logos on the two sides either, but
yeah,
it's very confusing.
Oh, there'll be one logo on the shirt. There'll be two separate styles of shirt. There'll be less with the old logo and more with the new logo. So people who want the old logo can wear the old logo.
Great. Okay. Brandon, the files you need should be in GitHub. And if they're not, you can contact Ron, Ron in Discord.
Already talked to him.
Okay. And he'll get you exactly what you need for both logos.
Sounds good. I think it's going to cost about $5 a shirt, if I'm not mistaken. But it's like $5, $6 a shirt for 200 shirts. So reasonable.
Yeah. Okay. Do it.
I'll work hard. I'll be there all day printing these shirts for the people.
Cool.
All right, we've got 5 minutes left. Was there anything else that anyone wanted to discuss?
Oh, yes. I want to talk about the verification. So since I joined the membership, I haven't gotten the visual verification done. And I'm wondering if we're just 70 people and it's taking this long to do the visual verification. What's the plan when we scale to 1,000, to 10,000?
Well, the plan is to get a new KYC procedure.
Yeah, and it can, to scale, it has to be bring one, teach one, right? We're going to have to onboard the onboarders and build our trust community that way. It's the only way it can scale.
Sounds good. But my first concern is to get my visual verification done first. I don't even know how that is going to work.
I don't either.
I think we have two members verify a new member, and get the KYC, verified somehow. But we have to decentralize it somehow.
Can we write a web app where someone, just like I think RChain's ICO has a web app where you sign up, it asks for permissions from your webcam, you take the picture, it records a video, and then it uploads all those files to a server where someone can then just look through and verify and doesn't have to make the actual phone call? Or is that too easily faked? But that's how they do it. It seems quick.
Yeah, well, it's similar to that, but a personal peer-to-peer link or greeting is important, and those automated procedures haven't worked for me yet. It always tells me I failed, and I waste a lot of time with them. So I'm not a big fan of those things.
Well,
I think part of it may be that right now Ian is the only one that's doing this, or maybe he just needs half a dozen other people doing the face-to-face verifications.
I think we have to decide. We have to build a trust community, you know, and have welcomers develop that skill and get rewarded for it in ROC. And, you know, basically you have somebody manages it who is satisfied with the KYC information, which, you know, is an opportunity for us to engage the person in the collective at the same time.
So let's make an issue of it and develop a new KYC procedure. And I think Brandon has the good ingredients for that.
The paying community, you know, that's the thing. I'm sure there's plenty of people who, once in the trusted network, would gladly verify for rocks as a job.
Yeah.
We just need an easier process as well. The way it works on our website now, it's not the easiest, and you have to, yeah. Navneet says hello.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I got busy with something else, but I like the participation today. It's pretty lively, looks like to me. A lot of people. That's very good. All the people, welcome.
Hi, Navneet.
Hi.
Great to see you.
Good to see you here, SJ.
So we were talking about this KYC procedure. We want to skip that one of yours.
Yes. So Ian is here. Did he explain anything, or I can explain some of the KYC thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we have a bunch of options, right? One of the options, we want to keep all the KYC related data to ourselves, right? I mean, as a co-op, I mean, that's my inclination. And after speaking with Greg and Ian and other people, I think we realized that we should keep all member data with ourselves, but it puts a little bit more responsibility in terms of the securing the data. So now coming back to KYC, we have two options. Either we do in-house manual process, or we outsource portion of KYC to some companies who are dedicated in that field. They are doing KYC and then get the data from there and import it.
Yeah, you can outsource it to the RChain active members.
And that's what I was coming to, right? So the second option, first option was the outsourcing the whole process. Second option is we keep it, and we have fairly enough process at this moment, which is not very extremely automated or you know, advanced, but it serves the purpose, right? We don't have to. We have to be lean. We don't have to be putting too much bells and whistles. What we need. So in that regard, we have two already groups we set up at our member site. One called admin, and another called verifiers. So we need a little bit more.
Navneet, excuse me. We want to scale to 10,000 active members this year. Yeah. So we have to be extremely lean and extremely efficient.
I totally agree with you.
That sounds like it accomplishes our goal. We develop trust of someone to a point where we make them, allow them to be a validator, or they get proposed as a validator and they get supported as a validator. Within the co-op.
Jim, that's where the challenge comes, you know, how you, I mean, like you guys, SJ, and you, some of the people I know personally, right? I mean, we have been working for past 2.5 years. So we know each other really well, right? So to scale to that large, to scale it to a big extent, you know, how we identify people who can help us, right? I mean, at this moment, I do not have personally any good way to figure that out. I mean, of course, you can vouch for 2 people, he can vouch for another 2. That way we can create a chain. So that's one way of doing it. The another way, we create in our system in a way that we can eliminate some of the dependencies where, you know, a new person without any reputation or any trust can extract the whole data out of our databases, right? Or our data.
Yes. Excuse me. I have just one question to you. Are you okay with that we create an issue to make a new procedure for KYC? Is the whole thing on it?
So we are already, I mean, I think there's a documentation. Kenny already started it. and probably I can share with you guys in coming days. So the idea, what we are thinking, or the way the thinking is going to, we will use the membership site, but there'll be a different roles for people. So we have at this moment 3 roles. One we call admin, second called verifier, and verifier and admin are allowed to do the verifications with KYC. And third is the normal member. Basically at this moment, normal member is no role, but it's a member role. Members can upload their data into the website, and verifiers can verify using webcam and whatnot, right? I mean, that's what KYC we are doing so far. So the idea is we need to increase the pool of verifiers so that we can do these things faster.
Right, but the thing is that you don't have to expose all the member data to verifiers.
Exactly, right. So that's where we have to put, I mean, we have verifier in place, but at this moment, the way our website works, it can, you can individually, if you know the email address, you can extract the data out, but we have to prevent that portion also. And that's where one of the enhancement we have put in place. And I'm in process of hiring a person with HTML, JavaScript, or Scala kind of background, a developer, and update some of these requirements so that we can do faster verification. And as we get more traction, right? I mean, today SDK was out. After 2 months, there'll be another version out. So we are expecting more membership. And then I think we have to scale that in a bigger way in coming days, right?
Brandon,
all the verifier has to do is capture the picture and the video. They don't need to access anything else.
No, so even though accessing an ID is can be a tricky, right? So why it can be tricky? Suppose, for example, I want to verify a person, Nate, for example. Nate uploaded his IDs, whatever. Some people upload their passport, some people upload their driver's license. And then what we do next thing, once we know that, we ask them, in DM, their email address, we go back to membership site, we pull their records, the passport picture or the driver's license picture, and then we do the webcam thing with these guys. And then we take a screenshot of video live with holding their IDs. I mean, that's the KYC we are doing. So it's a little bit manual process in terms of the, doing a webcam session with the person and then looking at the ID with the ID they uploaded and versus the ID they are showing you on the webcam, right? And if you look at some of the KYC other solutions, I don't know if they have completely manual process or not, but what I know, some of these guys, they directly talk to either DMV systems if you upload your DL, because I know CoinMe company, they have wrote this complete layer for themselves. They go and they talk to all 50 states DMV records. If you give them the driver's license, they can figure it out which state they are driver's license with the numbering scheme and whatnot. So I don't think we want to build the whole thing, and it takes time, right? CoinMe took 3 or 4 years to completely develop that system and make it efficient. So for us, I think at this moment, manual process seems to be a good, but if our volume goes really, really high, then there could be a possibility then we engage a completely company or outsource it, a company which is doing KYC exclusively. I mean, I don't see that, for at least 6 months to a year. At least scale ourselves.
We were talking about, a bring one, teach one type of scenario for onboarding.
Yeah.
I mean, we do a similar thing with,
in those kind of situations. So I will tell you what happened. I don't know, for some reason in last month, 16 people got verified for some reason. And, but 16 or 13 people. And my recollection is we did not verify these people. So these kind of things, how to avoid, you can teach one person, we are believing in every person is truthful and you can trust, but if a one actor is bad in the whole chain, it will spoil the way we are working, right? I mean, my take is one person is good enough to spoil this whole ecosystem for us in terms of the KYC. So the way Ian and I were talking about it, how to prevent even one case, spoiling by one person. So what we need to do, we need to keep some of the verifiers. What we think are, still it's a centralized, centralized proposition for us, and we want to get to a decentralized direction, and that's where identity comes into picture, right? I mean, as a holding part of the holding, we are working on identity solution, and then I think we can do those things. But at this current point of time, I don't think we have really good way to do, one person verifies and he verifies other people. I don't think we are not in that situation at this moment. My thinking down the road, 4 or 5 or 6 months, probably we have to do this manual process. And if we have, our RChain in a better shape where it's really decentralized and we have some identity solution, then Jim, what you're describing, I think that's the direction we should go. What will happen? We'll have one smart contract, 2 verifiers verify, basically they create a chain, right? I mean, the way blockchain is functioning, we can do the same thing. But at this moment, I think we have to take the centralized approach for at least some time.
Daphne, sorry, I'm just going to jump in. We're running over. I think if we can make this an issue and discuss this in more detail in GitHub, that would be great. I think unless people want to stay on, we should sign off unless anyone wants to continue this conversation.
Yeah, I agree with Santal. I think that's a good idea. So let's do this way. Probably next week we can talk a little bit more about it, and I can explain the rationale, the approach we are taking a little bit. I think we should. I mean, at least personally, I should more proactive in terms of the direction we are taking. I think since the beginning, I think I was involved with this membership thing. So I feel that's my responsibility, that I should explain the kind of direction we are taking and why we are taking. And to Jim and SJ, to your point, we want to involve more people. We don't want to put only 3 or 4 people to be as a verifier at this moment. At this moment, I think Ian is one of the verifiers. He is doing the most heavy lifting, and I am doing some of the verification. And there are, I think SJ, you are already a verifier, and Brandon's verifier, and there are 1 or 2 more people are verifiers. So we need to increase this pool of verifiers.
Just to add, during the governance forum, I think we could set up, a location just to verify people on the spot, if that's going to work, right? Yeah. Because people are going to be there with their ID anyways. So,
yeah, governance forum. Yeah, I mean, my take, if people are there, we should do that. I totally agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
May I also suggest actually the scalability issue is not just with the verification. I mean, basically, we need to think about, if we have 10,000 members, how is everything going to work? The channels, the decision-making, the communications back and forth. I think that is really the overall picture, with verification being one component of it. But, if you go from 70 or 700 to 10,000, what is the scalability issue? I think is what we need to really address.
Rob, I totally agree with you. I think you raised this point during the Bay Community call, and I totally agree. Okay, SJ, you take your.
It's up to Chantal.
Oh, thanks. Cool. Well, I think that's it for this week. I will create the agenda for next week. Feel free to add anything or give any feedback. That was a great session. Thanks everyone, and have a great day.
Thanks to you, Chantal. Really like having you here.
Thanks.
Thanks all.
Great.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thanks everybody.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye.